Hey guys, here we are remotely, different spot, and I've been here before on my shave videos, so some of you may recognize it. Here's the gear for today, the Nacet slipping out of my little grip. As you can see, not too many uses on it, about 5 or 6. And Damocles is a new soap that I haven't used yet from Mammoth. It's one of those that was a blind buy because number one, Mammoth so often nails a scent for me. I really like what they do. And then the description with this one just sounded terrific. I have used the EDT before as a cologne, and it's kind of in your face. It's got some strong notes that is taking a little bit of getting used to for me. And I believe that with that paradigm, often I really enjoy this soap. Port-au-Prince is another one that kind of has some strong notes as a cologne, as a splash that at first I didn't like, but the soap I love because things are a little bit more muted. If the light changes a little bit, I've got a window right there, and if the sun gets behind a cloud or something, the light may very well change during this video. But this will be the first time. This is Mammoth Tusk, the Tusk base, which is tremendous. We know it's going to give us good performance. So the Nacet blade is going to go inside this. This is the first shave with my new Blackland era. It's already been on YouTube for a little while. I'm sure there are some other shavers who have shown theirs off, and I'm finally getting around to putting mine online. And I will do a separate video that talks about the details of the razor, close-ups, and things like that. He sent little O-rings to be put here if you want to do that. But honestly, the way it feels to me right now, I think that's totally unnecessary for grip purposes. So it would be aesthetics, or just you like the way it feels, or whatever. So this is a 3D printed razor. They printed it with stainless steel in 3D. And then they went back over those pieces with a CNC machine because certain parts, like the bevels here on the base plate, certain parts need to be precision. You can see throughout the razor, if you look, you could hear that. It's almost like brushed stainless steel. In that it has micro, and in this case you can actually see some of the ridges, especially on other parts of the razor. If you look very closely, you can see on the top cap here ridges. Now, of course, you might have some guys out there to polish this up and change that look, but it has kind of a sandblasted look to it. And so they, for the bulk of the work, they used a cheap process of an inexpensive process of the 3D, right? And then the 3D printing. And then for the precision parts of it, they use CNC. Other companies do CNC or milling and stuff for the whole razor. And so by doing it this way, Blackland is making it a razor of this precision and this kind of quality available at much lower prices than Wolfman or some of those other companies. So looking forward, I've been dying to use this. I've got a 3-day growth on, and I wish my schedule wouldn't have been how it was the last few days, because I knew that this razor was going to be next. This is a Dogwood Handcrafts and Briar Brushworks handle with a Declaration Grooming B13 28mm knot mounted in it. And he's been soaking for a long time, so his tips are definitely wet and hydrated. Things like that. All right, so let's pop the Nacet out. He did send, Shane at Blackland did send some other razor blades with this one. You know what? I think I'm going to like this razor, but just in case, I'm going to use the included washer for now, and that way it won't make any marks on the underside of the razor head, just in case the guy who wants it next is particular about that kind of thing. And so there we go. The trajectory that this razor puts on the blade is a flatter one than a lot of other razors. And that's one thing that gives me a little bit of pause. But of course, it all depends on where the safety bar is here in relation to the edges of the top cap and that sort of thing. This is the number 2 plate. It is very easily seen in the corner of the base plate there. And so it goes from 1 to 5. And here are the couple of the other plates. They come in these nice little plastic wrappers. And then here's the open comb. And what attracts me to this design, the reason I bought it without hearing reviews about it, look at this wide area of the base plate here. That means this section here with the bevel, it goes really close, gets really close to the edge of the blade. Good clamping near the edge is usually an attribute I like, because we're talking solidity, we're talking a stable feel as it moves across your skin, less vibration as it moves across at the micro level, less vibration, less noise, but that's not as big of a deal to me. But the noise is a signal, a harbinger of the vibration, and that is a bother to me when I can afford not to have it. And the one thing, though, I'll tell you is that the safety bar here, it looks thin and not substantial, especially when you think about a Karve. But I'm sure strength is not a problem here. I'm sure it's going to be plenty strong enough to do the job. I mean, maybe if you dropped it from a great height or something, it might have a problem. But I'm not complaining that the strength is the issue. But what happens is this edge that's right down from the blade is actually kind of a harsh edge. It's not a curve. And so that'll be interesting to see. Not harsh as in I feel it bothersome. It has been rounded off a little bit. But it's just, it's like a tilt like this and then straight up and down. And at that corner there is a slight edge that you usually don't see on the safety bar. Usually it's more rounded. So we'll see how that goes. Face wet. Unlike usual shaves, I did a face wash before this one, because with 3 days of growth, I didn't want the soap to have to work super hard with facial oils and things like that. I'm sure it's up to the task, but I'm going to go ahead and use my normal method where I shake out most of the water, but I still leave it lightly wet. And I have been doing experiments lately with more of a dry load, but we're just kind of going to do it normal today, my normal at least. And here is what Damocles looks like. And since it's its first time, how about a 40-second load, 22 rolling around right there. So we'll go to 62, aka 2 seconds on the next minute. I mean, it's probably not needed to go 40 seconds. So I could go just to 52 on the next minute. I'm not on the next minute, but coming up here. And you know what? I bet that's probably enough here. I bet that'll be all right. So it's a 30-second load that we're looking at, and I'm going to pause you while I kind of collect this up too. All right, so let us start working it in. And nothing's jumping out super right away, and that's okay. We will add water. I mean, yeah, I may have to go back to the tub and get some more soap, but let's just see what happens. Might be plenty. So the Era does something neat with the blade support, like I was showing you. It goes right up to the edge, even on the bottom. And then it actually has the can you see it with the open comb? Because that one's unwrapped. Yeah, there is the bevel there, and you see it cuts off, and it actually goes back underneath a little bit, and so there's a gap. Not only do you have the gaps due to the open comb here, but there's a long gap underneath this thin lip right here. And that's, I think, what he was talking about that's something that 3D printing can do, but is more difficult for the milling machines of a lot of other makers. And also the reason that the price is reasonable on this guy is because the 3D printing process is just so much cheaper. And it looks like it's a very scalable type of process. And so this could become a very highly recommended razor. For its cost, that sort of thing. But I don't foresee gripping it being a problem, and so those O-rings I just don't think are going to be necessary. Man, I love this B13. It is not an unlucky number when it comes to declaration grooming batches. Just tremendous. Now, I've got almost 20 milliliters of water in there. Let's add, now we've got 21, something like that. Every once in a while, I'll change my paradigm a little bit. Instead of loading as much soap as I want and then adjusting the water, I'll load as much water as I want. I'll pour in as much water as I want, and then I'll look at the consistency once I get it to a nice homogeneous mixture. And then if it's too thick, well, obviously then I'd add some water, but then if it's too thin, I'll add more soap. Otherwise, I'll leave it alone. This is looking really good. Yeah, let's just make sure we have a nice mix here. I ordered, and I've been mentioning this every once in a while on my videos. With the Era, it did before they released it to the public, they did it on a pre-order basis, and I love it when companies do that, because then you don't have to worry about them guessing at the right number of things to make. So if 1,000, okay, let's be more realistic. If 400 people are going to want to buy an Era, but they only make 200 because they just don't know and they don't want to have tons of stock, and maybe they don't have that kind of capital to do that, then they're going to be short, right? And then they're going to be frustrated people. But the pre-order process fixes all that. So this, speaking of fixing, this is looks like there was probably more water in the brush that then combined, or more lather in the brush that then combined with that water that I added, because this looks really good. All right. Give my face another little splash of water. All right. Holding it. It's kind of heavy. People who like light razors typically might want to stay away from this guy. He did choose the same handle shape, generally speaking, that's on the Saber. I think it looks good. I think it works great. I like the balance here as I'm holding it. A lot of grip right now with a freshly washed hand, and just the nature here of the surface that's there. All right, let's lather up, and then my choice was very intentional on choosing the number 2 gap, because I bought the bottom section, the mild spectrum of the 5 different base plates he offers. I bought 1, 2, and 3, because that's usually where I find my shaving joy. I'm not seeking an aggressive feel. I want nice close results, but not a razor burn face to show for it. This lather feels just terrific. The scent is very, very good. And I was right in my guess that this would be kind of a slightly muted version of what I've been experiencing as the EDT. Wore it twice, I think. And my first time I wore it, I thought, I don't really think I'm going to enjoy having this on me all day. But it kind of became an acquired taste, and it became something I thought about later. I think it's just one of those scents that you just have to kind of use for a little bit. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be times where that is what I want to dial up. It's kind of intense, and so it's probably not going to be what you want to wear for a lighthearted day or something like that. Oh man, this lather, you can see the creamy nature that's going on here, but it feels just terrific and very well hydrated on the face. So it sure looks like I kind of nailed it the first time there. And here we go, Blackland era. I bought one open comb plate. Didn't want to go just absolutely nuts and buy 1, 2, and 3 of the open comb as well. And I shot for the middle with the open comb. So I got 1, 2, and 3 out of 5 in the closed comb, and then I got the 2 in the open comb. And here's the 2 now. And so as I shave now, it's going to, first of all, the biggest test here, because this is not a standard beard, is how does the 2 on the slightly mild end of his spectrum, how does it handle thicker growth? Also, I'm doing it with a solid bar base plate, and many people think, oh, well, if you're going to shave off multiple days of growth, you need an open comb. I have often proved that to be false, but of course that's just, it works for me, very effective for me. And so I also think we're going to experience a little bit of the blade pulling. It's not really tugging, it is cutting smoothly through the hair. But it's just not going to breathe through 3 days. Most razors can't breathe through 3 days without any feeling at all, you know. So it's not a true test in some senses. And so the real test here is going to be how it behaves on the second and third pass. And if it does take down that much growth here on the first pass easily, that tells us something too. But if it doesn't, then that's not really a big deal, because a lot of razors can't. All right. Yeah, I'm glad I stopped at 30 seconds, because here's my second pass of lather, and I've still got tons left in the, in the bowl. Man, this brush feels great. I'm pretty sure if I had one brush to choose for the rest of my life, of all the ones I have, this is my current one. All right, now something more normal. Second pass. I did feel some stubble as I did the rinse from the first pass. Here's something important. The rinse I'm about to do now. What was it able to do in 2 passes? Interesting. I definitely have some stubble I still feel, and so it is less efficient than some razors out there. we are at the mild end of the spectrum, you know, for this razor. We'll see. I do think I'm feeling that little corner of the solid bar, of the safety bar. Two or three extra passes of lather in the bowl there. So yeah, I didn't have to go 40 at all. All right, now we could also postulate that maybe the Nacet isn't a great blade for this razor, even though it performs well for me in many razors. In terms of balance, the razor feels very good. It doesn't feel too heavy while it's in use. If it would be strange for these number one and number two settings to actually be in the mild spectrum. Since Blackland, most of his DE offerings, the Dart and the Blackbird, are both in areas where it's almost out of my limit. The Blackbird is out of my limit, but the Dart is right at the edge. Well, I definitely have a good bit of growth here that really needs another pass. So fortunately I have more lather. I think if that edge were more smoothed out of the safety bar that I was talking about, it would be a more comfortable razor. But some people may actually like that corner moving across their skin, you know? Also, I'm kind of relying on my natural feel here to get the edge right, to get the angle of the blade and all that right. It could be I'm guessing wrong. So this is the fourth pass, and I'll tell you this, it is comfortable. It would be refreshing for him to make the bottom end of his plate spectrum to be truly for those who like a smooth experience. And so this may mean that I don't really shave with the 1 very often. And that's another reason I picked the 2 to start out with, because I know that there's a notch below this in terms of mild. There's a notch above this in terms of mild that I have available to me. So that's 4 passes. One nice thing is no irritation at all. Well, this is just the first impression. And so more uses are going to be needed to form an educated impression, an educated idea about what this razor does. I'm kind of encouraged in that the mild end seems to truly be mild. Of course, a different blade could be a whole different story. We'll just have to see. But I'm going to hold off on pretty much anything else because things kind of tend to feel a certain way the first use, and then it goes away, or you get used to it, you know. And that's and so it's definitely not worth burdening anybody with something that's going to disappear and become a non-issue, right? Oh, the Damocles was just terrific, great scent today. Let me go see what aftershave I'm going to put on. This may be a razor that I purchased the 4 and 5 base plates on. It really might. I decided to go with my Agar balm from Stirling. I am sure that the oud type nature of it is going to echo some of the notes in the Damocles. I did not get a super close shave in certain patches. I feel like if I had the 2 plate here and I was using it with this blade on a regular basis, I'd need to be careful about skin stretching just to make sure I kind of got the optimal situation for the blade to move across my skin and cut as efficiently as it could. The water, 21 milliliters used for 30 seconds of loading today. And I do have, and that was 4 passes that I did, and I still have 2 passes of lather still left in the bowl. So plenty of lather for those 30 seconds of loading. After this shave, it almost feels like the level 1 might be a solid bar that I don't use very much. We'll see. We'll just see. Could very well differ by putting different blades in. And we'll definitely give that a shot. The oud, the Agar wood there is bringing out a different aspect to it, to the Damocles, but it definitely agrees with it. It is dominating it just in a bit, so I'm losing some of the nuance there, but it would have gone away after a while anyway. So there we go. I think that's today. Number one, I'm going to really enjoy continuing to use this Damocles soap. It's one that he released, and I happened to not notice it when he released it. And then I was browsing his House of Mammoth site one day and saw it. And isn't that an awesome, awesome logo there? And so that, of course, grabbed my attention because that's not the logo of a mamby-pamby girl soap, right? And so I read about the ingredients and the notes in it, and so I just picked it up, and I'm glad I did. All right, so the Era, a good first outing. It handled 3 days of growth. It reasonably well. It didn't cut super close, and so for those people who like medium aggression, it sounds like, this is just a first impression here, it sounds like maybe the 3 and the 4 might be the place where you need to look in terms of the settings. If you are more of a mild person, mild razors, then maybe the 2. I don't know about the 1 yet. I don't know how much it differs from the 2 yet. So we'll see. We'll make that determination later. Terrific. The Nacet, I don't have any other blades to compare it to in this razor, of course, and so I don't know how the other one's going to act. It didn't immediately seem to be an awesome match for the razor, but we'll just see. All right. I think that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. I hope that I've helped you out with your Blackland Era knowledge in some way. Definitely more shaves to come with the Era. And if I don't already, I think I do have a Blackland channel playlist on my YouTube channel. And so if you're curious about the Era, that may be the best place to go. Or, of course, you can search my channel for Era, and that's probably the way to go. All right, now, take care.